perhaps taking action against the president when he's out of office. Would you see any value to that, given what people are saying they owe an apology?
I don't think that's a viable one. I don't think any serious government will follow that process. And I think there's a judgment, I don't know, one of the courts, I think it's the High Court and the Court of Appeal, that addressed that issue and said, you know, there can be no personal liability attached to the president in terms of the expenditure. So the judgment, I think, was there. Both courts, both the High Court and the Court of Appeal. Yes, affirmed that. But I don't think this is really a personal issue. Nobody will follow a president who has spent some money here and there on this process. The more, in terms of history, I think it is, you know, the judgment of the court, the political process, you know, that initiated it. I think that's that's the things, you know, Kenyans will remember about this process.
And finally, and as you give your final comment, my question to you would be, we focused on the verdict has declared BBI dead. Had it gone the other way, what would have happened? First, politically, would the election have been pushed forward in terms of implementing this, what was in the BBI amendment bill?
I think, you know, first you need to look at what the appeal issues were.
Yes.
The appeal issues recognize the reality, and the reality is what Kanjama said. The reality is that as a process, the BBI process ended in the Court of Appeal. These 7 issues, because even from the 7 issues, the appeal won 7, won 5, lost 2. The political reality is that even whichever way it went, all that would have gotten is political capital for one side and political loss for the other, which is what we've gotten, political capital and loss. The reality is that practically there was nothing going to be possible to do between now and the next election, either way.
Right. And Kanjama, you spoke earlier and you said, in terms of the timelines for the elections, because there was talk about this being an attempt to push forward the date for the elections. Would you have seen that possible had it gone through or gone their way for those who were pushing for the BBI? And as you conclude?
I'll tell you honestly that I had some personal concerns because mischief, political mischief, emerges every day, every week, every month. There are rogues in our political space in Kenya. Some of those rogues wanted to postpone elections. Some of them wanted to create a situation in which even the current president would possibly reinvent himself either in a new high political office in Kenya. There are rogues in this country who wanted to manipulate the BBI process for their own ulterior motives. And I was quite worried about it myself. I was scanning and monitoring the process. And what I would say is that this process of cementing the grave has at least completely quashed those intentions of the rogues. So we'll now have an election in August. That election, there would have been an opportunity of people to go to court, to the High Court, saying, oh, now we need to postpone the elections. We'll now have the elections in August, and we'll have a transition. And it's very good. It focuses the mind of the political players.
Right.
We have an elections. We are having a transition in the office of the head of state and the deputy head of state.